And now for something completely different.
Yes. And encoding overloading. Consider turning down your video settings. No, fuck you. But yes, it
You're not
is.
on your home internet connection.
No, I'm on my home, but it's the GPU in this case. It's going crazy. That's fine.
Oh, you're back in Columbus now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were still in Tennessee.
No, we were just down there for the week.
He has a
Oh,
new
gotcha.
GPU. He just has to stop by and grab it.
Yeah. No, if I was down in Tennessee during this, you would get one frame. One frame.
Also, it'd be like Drew's video last week.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it took me...
I'm pretty sure he was using a 240p webcam.
Yeah, I think it took me a good 20,
Shut
30
up.
minutes to upload a 20-second clip. It was painful. And yes, it is live and streaming.
Yay. Been a while since we've done a live stream.
I know. So, welcome to Bits and Bytes, our random live stream. This episode, I believe, we'll be talking about Raspberry Pis. Not the type you eat. Well, sure, everybody likes pie, but...
Well, why don't we just go out on a limb here and say single board computers? It's easier.
Is it, though? If you're talking to somebody non-technical, is it, though?
Like,
I mean, they won't try to eat it.
Maybe if you just say little computers.
yeah, tiny computer. Yeah, that's a good one.
Which, Tinies isn't really a good description either, because I have a Lenovo Tiny sitting behind me that is an i5 with a terabyte SSD and 16 gigs of RAM and is running Proxmox.
Yeah. So
And
what-
like 8 VMs.
So one issue with tiny computers is that you set them down somewhere and you lose where the hell they're at. Because you accidentally set something on top of them.
And for true quote-unquote tiny computers like the one I'm talking about, if you go into, for example, a hospital or somewhere else and there's a little box attached to the back of the monitor, it's either a tiny computer or a thin client.
Yes.
Traditionally thin clients.
Depends. There's a lot of, so you have like downtime systems for when when the AHR or something's down, so usually the like registration desk or something like that has an actual physical computer. Where that way they've got an offline set of capabilities.
Just in case.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of the hospitals switching over to the Intel NUC boxes.
Really?
Yes.
Those are nice rigs. Although they're still x86 based. So,
Yes, they are.
I guess that's a plus or a disadvantage depending how you look at it.
Is that a 0 in your hand?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, it's a 0W, I believe.
Okay, so it's the wireless version.
Yeah, it's the W. I see the antenna wire there.
Which, by the way, they're actually a great buy for what they are.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
I think the wireless version is, what, $20, and the regular standard 0, I think, is going for 10 right now.
Is it up to 20? I thought it was cheaper.
Give me a minute, I'll look.
Okay. Uh-huh. So that's their icon, their Raspberry Pi icon. Yep. Yeah, so this is essentially the same hardware that's in the cell phone. You've got your CPU and graphics or GPU on that chip, and that also controls your USB and all that good schnaz. This guy has HDMI output, power, USB output, so you can plug a USB hub into it, then keyboards, mice, and all that shit. You've got a micro SD for your hard drive, and a camera port so you can hook a webcam up to it. Then this pin, the GPIO, is GP General Purpose Input Output.
Yes.
Yep. So they've got a number of analog and digital inputs and outputs, so you can hook it up to, say, a water sensor for an automated hydroponic system. And then when the sensor gets too low, you have another one that trips on, that turns on a pump. So you can use it to control kind of home automation, stuff like that.
But the most common application for the GPIO is actually guys just hooking a fan onto them. I wish I was kidding, but that is the most common application.
With that cinder block you put on yours?
Maybe. I got another one sitting here, too, that's in a really pretty case.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got a reset button and everything else. This is another Raspberry Pi 4. But this case is amazing, honestly. It does a real good job of cooling. Not as good as the Ice Tower does, but this one does good.
Yeah, your Ice Tower is a whole GPU block on top of it.
It is.
I did not expect that to be provided by a Raspberry Pi vendor, but especially when the CPU is, that tiny. But then again, you also have yours overclocked quite a bit too, so...
They're actually both overclocked.
Oh, okay.
This one runs a bit warmer in this Argon 1 case, but it still doesn't hit thermal throttle or anything.
Do they even support thermal throttling?
Not usually. This one in the Argon case will, just because of the script that you put into it.
Okay.
My other one, if it's going to overheat, it is going to fry.
Yeah, that's what I thought they did, is because they don't have any thermal management built in by default. If you overclock them and you don't have adequate heating, they'll just burn themselves out. They will gladly...
Yeah, they just fry.
Yeah. Yeah, the size comparison of the Zero and the regular. And we'll have her crack open this case that I have. I think this is one of the default Raspberry Pi cases.
Yeah, that looks just like my red and white one.
Yeah.
I could get that case out, but you pretty much have the same exact thing sitting there, just in black.
Yeah. So that's a really cool case. I really like how it just snaps apart. There's no screws or anything to it.
Yep.
It just clips off. Yep. So the lid just pops off. Mm-hmm. And then you got the side panels that just pop off. Yep.
We're always tearing something apart on the show.
I know.
I almost saved doing the keyboard for this show, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stream from my damn iPhone.
Yep.
It's not happening.
Oh, you've got an iPhone?
I do. It's about 4 years old. It is 4 years old because it's a 2016 SE model.
I've got an 8 Plus. That's what I use.
You don't have to.
I'm trying to avoid going buttonless. Although my work phone is like an XR, so...
Buttonless? What?
Buttonless.
What do you mean buttonless?
So,
As in, it has no buttons. It has no home button or anything.
yeah, so it's probably going to turn on and just show my screensaver. That's my daughter, but this is the actual like still button where you can still push on it to turn it on or use the face thing to unlock it.
So if a device doesn't have a button, how the fuck do you use it?
So it still has side buttons.
Okay.
You just don't have... So the way it does biometric is face.
Yeah.
Which that'd be a good... That'd be a good challenge. I wonder if it'll actually like see my face in the video and unlock. It didn't.
No.
Not until I turned it towards me. It was worth a shot.
So if you don't want to use facial recognition, how do you open it? Like,
Code. Just like
there's like a 4 or 5 digit code you can put in?
Well, yeah.
4 to 6.
Yeah, but I mean...
Yeah.
If you want to do biometrics, it's face or nothing.
On mine, I've got a power button that I push and it turns on.
Yeah.
If you don't have a button...
This does too. It's on the side.
Oh,
That's what I said. You still have side buttons.
Oh,
So you still
okay.
have volume up and down, and you still have the side button. You just don't have the actual like front-facing button.
Oh, well, that's kind of pointless, anyways. Like even on Android, it doesn't really seem to do much.
See, mine's my like thumbprint sensor. So when I unlock my phone, I just hit that button to
Yep.
like wake it up, and I'll also
Mine's the same
unlock
way.
it.
Mine's the
And
same
I
way.
like that feature. So I've gotten used to the facial recognition one, but it's
And I know
Not my
people
preference.
aren't fans of the Apple phones, but I like them. You know why? Because they do simple things, and I like simple phones.
I'd have a flip phone if I still could.
I'm with you on that, man.
You could have a flip phone.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that stupid thing that's like the folding screen. That's just weird.
No. There are some
You can still buy
manufacturers-
flip phones.
Yeah, there are some manufacturers that are still making
Oh, I know.
phones in a flip phone form factor, and they're running Android whatever on them. But it's an old school phone, kind of. Until
I was going to say, I know my dad still uses a flip phone, and my uncle does, but unfortunately, I'm tied entirely too much to other electronic forms of communication, and the smartphone is too useful. But yeah, if I could go back to not having those necessities and still be able to carry just a flip phone, I'd be fine.
this model, it also has a display out. Does anybody ever actually use the display out on Raspberry Pis?
Probably when they first configure them would be my guess. That'd be the only time.
You really don't have to do that to configure them, because you just drop the ISO on the SD card, you put the SD card in, and it walks you through configuring.
Yeah.
I've never actually set up a Pi, so
So, the Zero, it has your single camera connector for their mini plug, whatever. But the regular,
Yeah. Has a full-size camera plug.
yeah, it's got two
Hmm.
Zero initial force plugs. One of them is a camera, and one of them is a display. So you can get a little LCD display of whatever size you want,
and I've seen people have LCDs on them.
and it plugs into that port.
Gotcha.
But that seems to be few and far between. Most people just use the HDMI.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing. If you are on a tight budget and you need a desktop, you can turn one of these into a fully functioning desktop. You can watch YouTube in 1080p, because I've done it on mine. You can... They work. They really do. They're not the fastest things in the world, but on tight budget, I think
I've got a
with
netbook in the
case
closet
and
that's
everything,
probably
this was
faster
under
than-
$100. And this is the most expensive model one they make. This has the 8 gigabyte one. You can get a 4 gigabyte one. I want to say it's like $24 cheaper, I think.
Yeah, ARM technology's come a long way.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
4 gig would still be enough to run your web browser and all that shit.
I honestly don't recommend anyone gets the 8 gigabyte one. I have yet to max it out. No, I've tried. I've had like 47 Chrome tabs open, and all types
The one
of
thing
crap.
I could see it really being useful for is a NIDS sensor. So if you had something like Snort or Suricata set up, and actually running an agent basically on there to send the data back, if it's doing any preliminary parsing or filtering, you might reach that.
Would you want
what's
to
the
do
other?
that on that platform, though?
So I'm trying to remember what the collaborative security suite, Security Onion. Security Onion has like a client version that you can run, and I've seen some people do them on Pis
Well,
for like little network sensors that you basically. So rather than doing like a remote span back to a bigger switch, they'll use these sometimes as sensors to just send the necessary data. So rather than sending back everything from all the VLANs, you can do some of the filtering of the traffic.
oh, so it'll just act as a small proxy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it'll still give you kind of your span data, but it'll filter it down to just like maybe what protocols you want to see, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing
I
I
can
was
see
thinking
that being
about,
useful.
is I was running some tools on this, some custom tools for network management. But my tools need layer 2 access. Layer 2, right? Or layer 3?
Yes.
Whatever the
Yeah, layer 2.
Mac level.
Layer 2.
Okay. But by default, they didn't support VLAN, so I could add the tools, but then I had a whole nother issue of I can't just have it on DHCP, plug it in, and leave. So if I need to monitor multiple VLANs from a single box, I need to configure that before I go on site, or configure a script to do it for me. I don't know. Seems like a bit of a hassle, but I guess it is what it is.
Where these are really popular is with the retro gaming community. Is buying tons of these just because they have the RetroPie OS with the emulators, and it's super easy to install. I have one installed, which my daughter and I sit there and play the old school games. And this is a disclaimer: if you're going to download ROMs, to do it legally, you must have a physical copy of the game. If you do not, it is illegal. Take that as you will.
Yes.
Do what you want with it, but
Yeah.
it's super, like I said, super easy to get going. I'm actually using a wired switch controller on one of them to make it work. And the joysticks work, the triggers work, everything works on it just fine. The rumble even works.
So a wired...
I would bet.
What's that?
I was going to say, I would bet if somebody tore apart one of the like NES mini classics or whatever, like they just came out with, the Super NES, the Genesis, I would almost bet those are Raspberry Pis in the inside.
They're not actually Raspberry Pis. They are Rock Pi
Really?
boards. Yes, I have one. I've torn apart. It is a Rock Pi board. It is a cheaper version of a Raspberry Pi and less
Ah.
powerful.
That's sad.
Okay.
That is sad.
So you
I think the Rock...
You mentioned wired Switch controllers. How the fuck do you do
Yes.
that? Like the Switch Joy-Cons, they're little strappy things that go on the side that operate over Bluetooth.
Yeah, anyone who owns a Switch doesn't use those Joy-Cons unless they're portable, because they fucking suck. You buy a Pro controller that's either wired, or you buy a wireless Pro controller. Straight up.
Called out.
I think I just called someone out. Oops, my bad.
I have small hands. I like the wireless.
But I have a knockoff Switch controller that is wired. It uses a USB cable, a micro USB to regular USB, and that's what I use to play on that. I have wireless ones too, and I got those to work on there, but I have to unpair them from the Switch, and that really annoys me because I actually do use my Switch.
Yeah, we were having fun with her controller things for the Switch down there. I showed her how to pair them to the Android phone,
Yes.
and then just how much they suck when paired to an Android device.
Also, damn Nintendo for calling it a Switch, because from someone who like really only doesn't do gaming anymore and only does networking shit, every single time you guys say it, even though I know what you're talking about, my brain envisions a Cisco Switch.
Yeah, all the kids are carrying around a 2448 port, one U in their pocket. All right, let's play some games.
I mean, that wasn't far off what we did.
I mean, technically,
We
it's
used to
going
move.
back-
I
Yeah.
remember Kirk carrying around like a 20-inch freaking CRT monitor.
Yes.
And I also remember said monitor getting the cord caught in the door.
Fucking Drew.
Was that the same night that we like left him in the trunk and forgot about him and he fell asleep?
Yes.
Oh man, if only he was on this one.
But, yeah, I hate to say it, the Switch Joy-Cons are junk. It is a known issue that the sticks have drift in them. They will. It's not a matter of, is my Joy-Con going to catch drift? It's a matter of if. And I've made so much money repairing these Joy-Cons because they all drift. And people are like, can you replace this? Yeah, I can. It's $25, and it's only $13 worth of parts, but it involves me tearing apart and working with little tiny ribbon cables.
You haven't had the issue yet?
Keyword
like you
is
will.
yet.
I had one controller that
one controller.
keyword
stopped
is yet.
showing Up? Huh.
Yeah, it kept disconnecting, even though it was like fully connected.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because they do technically connect over wireless, over NFC. So
Yeah, so it's all
Yeah. Number one reason Joy-Cons fail is that the thumbsticks go out on them, and they're not hard to replace. But you have to have what is that called? An S&D station, because you need a hot air gun to break the glue up. You have to be aware of the way they come apart, because if not, you will rip a ribbon cable. And they require a Y00 tri-wing screwdriver, which almost no one has.
right.
You would think that Nintendo, of all companies, would have figured out joysticks from the Nintendo 64 controllers. Those things,
I mean, you're not wrong.
those things took a beating, and it got abused all the time. And they just
Oh yeah, you'd pick up a controller and sit there rattle, and the joystick would be going. Oh,
But it
still works.
I just never got around to the fact that it was in the dead center of the controller, though, and your hands were offset to the side.
Once
It
you got used
depended
to
on the
that being
game.
once you got used to that thing being dead set in the center, you were happy with it in the center. And then you went to use something like an Xbox controller, you're like, this feels weird.
I can't use Xbox controllers either. I'm used to PlayStation.
So
I have my hands down here.
the thing with the Nintendo,
got my joysticks here. For the Xbox, it's like this. It's like
Yeah, you'll hate a Switch Pro controller because it's real close to the Xbox controller.
yeah, the thing with the Nintendo 64 controller was you had the 3 hand positions, and it was based off of what type of game you were playing as to which they primarily used. They didn't
Yes.
all usually use all 3 positions. Like, for example, Perfect Dark was the trigger and the thumbstick in the middle, and then you had your buttons on the right-hand side that you used for... I don't even remember what those buttons did at this point. But that was, 15, 20 years ago?
It has to be at least
But then, like, or other games, you would actually use the directional pad that was on the other side.
she just loaded up a picture of the Switch controller. How did they not get hit for copyright infringement? Is that
I told you it's so close to an Xbox controller.
Show that off, Charlie, because I've not actually seen one. That's an Xbox controller.
yeah.
That is a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. That's actually a knockoff one. That's a PDP.
That's the one
PDP or Power A, I'll bet on it.
I'll take your word for it.
It's the Crash Bandicoot.
I buy the knockoff ones because I ain't spending $80 on a controller. I'll spend $40 and replace batteries with rechargeables.
It's the official Nintendo one.
I have not ever seen that controller.
I saw it once
That's
at
funny.
GameStop and I bought it. Because I wanted to know what it did. Or like, how it felt compared to the other controllers.
It feels like an
It
Xbox
feels so much.
controller. I've never
it
even
feels so
touched
much
one, and I
better
can
than
tell you that.
Joy-Cons. You're not wrong. I actually have one laying here.
Oh, the Splatoon one! I like that game.
Yeah, that's an Xbox controller. Let me see the top of it. Let me see the top. Yeah, that's an Xbox controller.
Yup.
Yep. It feels like an Xbox controller.
Yeah. Just not as weighty. Because the Xbox controllers have the battery pack. So
But I have gotten very good at taking the Nintendo Switches apart because they have so many issues, like the charging ports going out on them. Thank God I have an S&D station with a hot air gun is amazing for replacing the charging chips on them, which that's what fails.
So how long does it take you, time-wise, to do a replacement for that?
I've got it down to probably about 15 minutes I can do one.
Okay, so then you're...
But that's me knowing exactly what screws have to come out and knowing what to leave alone.
$13 for 15 minutes. You're almost $1 a minute. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But the only problem is you only do 1 or 2 a day, maybe at tops. So...
Yeah, Yeah, if I'm lucky. Usually it's a couple a month.
Right.
The charging chips I do rarely, because most people trash their switches when the charging chip goes out, or they throw them on eBay for $100. I've made decent money off buying them off eBay and replacing. I've gotten burned a couple times doing it though too, because they say won't charge. Okay, that's a battery or a charging chip, not a big deal. I get it, and I opened it up, and the water damage stickers lit up.
You open it up and a fish drops out. Well, shit.
Pretty much.
I was just gonna say, pick it up. The screen is like just filled with water. Oh, it's one of those aquarium games.
Right? But at the same time, I've made more than I've lost at doing it.
And if you enjoy doing it,
But it's one of those things that requires a very special set of tools, and if you don't have them, you can find cheap ones on Amazon, but I found the tips wear out on the cheap ass Y screwdrivers. The tri-wing screwdrivers, the tips just round off of.
What? You saying cheap tools are cheap? No, who would've
Pretty
thought?
much. Who
This
has the
reminds
best repair kit for them is actually iFixit, but you will drop
Right.
a lot of money on them.
iFixit stuff's pretty expensive. I remember we had a trial of how effective like cheap tools were when we did some flooring for you at one point. Because I remember I had my DeWalt bits. These were Phillips, which are just notorious freaking strippers anyway. And I think out of a whole 5-pound box of screws we went through, you had a box of like 20 like cheap bits you bought somewhere that were just
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And you went through
Everything
the whole
I
thing.
have
think I
now
went
is-
through 3.
Actually, I have
5-pound
you to
box of
blame for
screws.
this. All my bits and everything I have now are actually DeWalt, and they're all impact rated now.
Yep.
Because I don't care. You can't tear up an impact rated bit.
I'd hope not.
Especially if it's Torx.
Oh yeah, if it's Torx or Spats, you can tear them up. The screw will disappear.
I feel bad for anybody that has to deal with anything I work on now, because if I build it, I almost always buy Torx screws.
Right?
They don't strip nearly as easily. I built basically a pallet racking in my garage with 4x4s, 3/4 inch plywood, like full sheets, and I used like lags, and the support lag screws were like 5-inch Torx screws and everything. I actually
you afraid
had
it was going to come apart or what?
Dude, it's like a pallet racking. I built so my garage. I wanted to make sure I wanted to consolidate totes and stuff for holiday storage and whatnot into like going vertically. So I made 3 shelves. I used 4x4s for the primary pillars, 4x4s for the bottom frame, 3/4 inch 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch OSB for the bottom shelf, 1/2 inch OSB for the middle shelf, and 1/2 inch OSB for the top shelf. With them roughly 3 to 4 feet apart.
So what you're saying is the structure weighs about 150 pounds.
Oh, it stays with the house when I move.
I figured that.
Now, there's a kind of general rule that if a device is physically bolted to the foundation or to a wall or to some permanent structure in the building, then that becomes part of the building's assets.
Yeah.
Well, so this is on casters in case I need to move it around.
Oh.
They're very heavy rated casters. You can move it around, but it takes a little oomph to get it going.
I'm
Jesus.
really bothered as to where in the hell that other microphone is at. I've got a set of mics that I was digging around for, but oh well, whatever.
I have no idea about a microphone. I had to go out and buy a new headset and microphone.
Yeah, and your set
Which evidently still doesn't work with Linux.
Yeah, that's what he said.
It's the freaking sound card.
So you
And then
you mentioned that your headset, it has a single jack for both input and output, right?
yes, it's a 4-pole.
Okay. So if you wanted to get that to work, you could get an adapter that takes the 4-pole and converts it to a microphone input and stereo output.
That might be something I do.
Or you
for
could
the
just
next
get
one
one
we
of
do.
Or just go with Bluetooth, yeah. I've actually been thinking I need to hook up a Bluetooth system as well.
This was an MPOW, or however you pronounce it, MPOW. I think it was like $35. Not bad. It's off Amazon.
Yeah,
Works great.
that's probably what I'll do.
I'm in meetings the majority of my day, every day of the week, and it works fine. It gets me through the whole day. I don't have to worry about charging it.
Yeah. I'm curious if you can run multiple of those on one system.
I've almost been thinking about it because I've been going back to the office, and I've been just toting this back and forth in my bag because they've had us in the week. We're doing hybrid now, and I've thought about trying to get one for the office. That way, I don't have to haul one back and forth, and then it just pairs with my my laptop. But the other nice thing about this is it has this little charging block that is USB charging, wireless, so you can actually take it with you and plug it and just sit it on the desk and charge it. You don't have to actually. I don't know how many charges it takes because I always just leave it here plugged in.
Oh, and it has.
But it's another nice feature.
The block has its own battery too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you charge it up and then you can use it to charge the headset. And I think it'll do it a couple different times, but I've not actually tried because I just leave it connected to the laptop.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the battery in that is substantially bigger, anyways. It's.
Oh yeah,
that's an option. But the more along the option, probably what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to pony up and buy actual webcam to hook into my PC.
As opposed to the built-in. Yeah.
Yes.
And
the built-in one works, but
you're a little fuzzy.
And you know what else he needs for his house? Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably help.
Just a bit.
I mean, I could turn on all the reptile lights and piss them off and wake them up, and it would probably light up in here a lot more, but they're going to be really fucking pissy if I do it.
It sounds like a you problem.
I get bit by that little bastard enough. I don't think I need to piss him off anymore.
See, I need to actually put ceiling lights in. That's one of the things I've been meaning to do. Maybe I'll get through that this fall to winter. Probably not, because I decided to take on another college class this term. But I've got a little lamp, literally 3 feet away from me, so it is shining this way, which is why my forehead seems exceptionally shiny. Because I've got a light
Anyhow, as off topic as what we got.
Do we?
But I guess
have
the
it on
Switch.
topic?
Well, it was supposed to be the Raspberry Pi, but I think we pretty much covered what I think it's useful for. It was the retro gaming and the desktop. Oh, got to discuss the Pi hole because everyone pretty much should have one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So Pi-hole was one of my. So I don't even have a Pi, but I have Pi-hole running. Basically, it is a application that does DNS. What? It's a virtual machine. it's still running on a tiny PC. It's just a VM on a tiny PC. So it's really cool because it does DNS blacklisting for your entire network. So instead of just having AdBlock Plus or something like that, what's the
this can block ads from your phone, from your games you're playing. It can block the ads from those.
So yeah, I have funny stories about that too. But yeah, that was one of the main reasons I actually spun it up, was because I was tired of ads on my phone and I couldn't just block things there like it can block things on my computer. So I spun one up and it's great. And all those free games that you get for Android or whatever that have the ads every 2 minutes of gameplay, it will block those. Yep. However, I discovered that some of those games, if you watch the little 10-second video ad or whatever, they give you in-game money or whatever. Because my wife, I was like, "Hey, have you noticed that there haven't been as many ads on the games and stuff you're playing?" She's like, "Yeah, but I'm also not making as much in-game credits or whatever as I was because the ads supported that."
Right. That is a trade-off. But if you're like I am, you hate ads.
So my biggest complaint and what I really wanted to achieve with it is still not resolved. ads on YouTube
AdBlock Plus.
Because
That's
they're-
the only way to get rid of them.
You
on
block.
a Roku.
You block plus.
Oh,
uBlock was, yeah.
You
on
block
a
Origin.
Roku.
Yeah.
I have Roku, but I don't use it for YouTube. I use it for Hulu and Disney,
Well, you
Hey,
know,
which will lead me
Hulu
into.
and Disney and Netflix and
Nah, I dropped
YouTube.
Netflix. I dropped Netflix because it's no longer Netflix and chill. It's Disney plus Dis Dick.
no.
That was my
yeah,
that was my
I got
dad
Disney
joke.
Plus for my kids, so no.
yeah, nothing's more attractive than a rerun of Frozen or something.
Don't even get me started. That was like my son's favorite movie for the longest period of time. I've seen Frozen at least
seen
100 times this
I've
month.
seen Frozen. I've seen Moana. I've seen
Frozen, Moana, Hotel Transylvania,
Trolls.
Yeah. Poor Charlie is like, what?
Yeah.
You can see my confusion with your text the other day. I'm like, there's a whole store dedicated to trolls? That's odd. I
Right?
didn't think they were that popular.
That's what I thought too. I'm sitting there going, and he's talking about buying me something from there? What do I want something
Yeah, and
from
I'm
Trolls
like, if I want to
for?
buy my daughter something from Trolls, I'll just get it off Amazon. I don't need a whole store for it.
I mean, if one of the little animated characters were to run for office, then sure, but the other animated character that ran for office.
And there are other things you can do with the Pi too that are a bit more advanced. You could put an LCD screen and a power source to it, and you could make and install Kali Linux to it, which is supported. And you make a portable hacking machine if that's your thing. And then there is the Ponagachi, which is
Yeah, what's the Ponagachi? Did you want to go into details about that?
basically what it is it. You remember the Tamagotchis? It's built on a Raspberry Pi Zero. It has a Tamagotchi face.
The Tamagotchi
and
is this little animated character, or the animated pet that you had to take care of and feed and water
Yes.
and walk, and yeah.
It
Very
has that
popular in
face.
the late 90s.
But this animated character with the script you run with a Pi Zero, and you need an external power source, it eats wireless data. And not any wireless data, it eats the handshaking certificate wireless data and stores it. So you could take it home, plug it into your computer, and you have the wireless access passwords to wherever you go.
Yep.
And the little face gets animated as it eats the handshaking certificate. It's kind of funny.
But there's no animated character.
Yes, that
on
is the
him.
same exact thing, but probably cost a lot more than a Ponagachi
It's
costs.
actually not too bad. Yeah.
It's the same thing, but the Ponagachi you build yourself, and it's got the cute little face on it.
Land
This is a cute
turtle.
little turtle.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at, the land turtle. Although they do have an
And-
enterprise grade Wi-Fi pineapple now. It's a full 1U rack that with a standard power supply and like 8 antennas for it. It's actually looks pretty slick. And the same scripts for the enterprise 1U unit also apply to all of the raspberry or to all of the pineapples. So
Nice.
I've got got a couple other things wandering around here somewhere. I have to find them. Because I've got the Bash Bunny and the Duck too.
Yep.
So Bash Bunny is really cool.
yeah, I believe when we were at DEF CON a couple years back, they unveiled the packet squirrel.
Packet Squirrel's one I've considered. They've got a lot of cool stuff now.
Yeah.
Now,
You're
where the
probably wrong.
Ponagachi kind of fails, though, is the antenna's kind of limited. So, we got something for that. Right-hand circular polarized antenna, 5.4 gigahertz. This will definitely boost it up.
Yeah, see, I got the Pi Nano, or the Pi Nano. The Pineapple Nano, and it only does 2.4. That's one of its downsides. Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, I mean, you'd think around the time it came out, majority of the stuff was still 2.4. You only really found 5.8 in either gaming houses or some enterprise, and you still usually find 2.4 broadcasting on the same thing. You don't find exclusively 5.8.
Right. Hell, even today,
So it's
everybody's still just running 2.4.
yeah.
Yeah. The 5.4 is just overkill that lets me pretty much pick up whatever. And I haven't finished building this yet. I'm still ordering parts for it because the screen was actually on back order because it's a little 2.3 inch LCD screen. Other than that, I pretty much have it going.
And was that a Kickstarter project?
There is a company that kickstarted them. I kind of bastardized one together, though.
Oh, okay.
So have you guys seen the flipper?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, give me a second. Let me find that because that's a really cool thing.
I mean, I could try to search for it as well, but it'd probably come up with something about a dolphin.
You know, that's
Or
typically what you're
really-
going to find, yes.
Or some
So,
really weird adult-themed stuff.
Turk, we're not talking about your browsing history. There you go. I just dropped it in the chat if you want to share it out, Charlie. Because I don't know how you're doing layout for everything.
I don't know how I'm doing layout for everything.
That is basically the Ponagachi, man.
Yeah, I know. But it's got a dolphin.
Yeah, instead of having the Tamagotchi face, it's got dolphin, but it's the exact same thing.
I think this one's built on an Arduino, though, instead of...
It is. That's good. Yeah, that's definitely an Arduino board.
Yeah, so he's got a dolphin icon.
I like that. That's cool.
It's neat.
Yeah, I think this might
The
have been the
question
one
is,
that
how
I
much
saw.
is it?
Hey, mate, let's play.
The question is how much is it?
Oh, this one's got a 1.4-inch screen. Infrared transceiver. It still has GPIOs. USB-C.
It can detect bad
Oh.
USB ports. That's kind of neat.
Oh, yeah. This one also does 400 meg and 800 meg transceiver off node. That's right.
Oh, it's not in production yet, so you can't actually buy one.
No, it's Kickstarter.
It's neat.
Yeah, they're running the Texas Instrument chip. That chip looks really cool. It's a software programmable radio that is dirt cheap. Oh, and it can do low frequency RFID. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat little tool.
I am interested in this pineapple thing, though. Like, I'm actually looking for it.
As in,
What?
like, the rack mountable one, or...
No, that little USB one that you had, and I'm not finding it on here.
It's the Pineapple Nano. Here, I'll find it and pop the link in.
Looks like the Flipper Zero is an open source tool. Come on, how much you asking for? $129, and you get one of the Flipper Zeros.
So I don't believe they have the Nano anymore.
It doesn't look like it. I'll find one, though.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can find one. No, they've got all kinds of fancy pineapples now.
Yes.
That's what happens when you get out of the game for a little while. Holy bejesus, that's a lot of antennas.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's
Okay, I just found a Nano. It's $170.
and Antennas galore.
I can just imagine somebody walking into my office with that thing sitting on my desk. What are you
Oh,
doing with
yeah.
that? Making sure I don't have kids anymore. Or don't have any more kids.
Right.
That is entirely too many radio waves.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of interesting devices out there for penetration testing, and
Five got a
you
ton.
kind of got to dig for them to find them. You really do got to dig for them. You actually have to know what you're looking for.
mean,
you're not going to be able to
You don't
just
have to
go
dig
into
that
Google.
far.
And,
Just go to hack5.org and there's literally everything you need.
well, yeah. But your average user, not knowing that website and stuff, what are they going to type in there? Hacking
Well, the
box?
average user shouldn't be playing with that kind of stuff either.
Right.
Because
You're right,
they're not
but
going
they
to use
do.
it responsibly. Well, they're not going to A, use it responsibly, and B, they're going to get themselves in trouble. Or they're going to break
Yes.
all kinds of crap, like their neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Yes. And you look like you've done that before?
Hmm?
I said that look on your face kind of looked like you've done that before.
I've taken down many a Wi-Fi. Not necessarily intentionally.
So I did not do anything malicious to the hotel Wi-Fi, by the way. I was tempted to, but
I always feel like I could probably figure out how to get into every single microtech I get into or get near. And half the hotels I connect to, it's just like, that's a freaking microtech MAC address. I still remember the bloody MAC address fix from when I worked with them all the time.
well, of course, because
And sure enough,
you can identify the first 3 octets. So yeah.
Yep. Let's see, there's Delta 4 Charlie Alpha, there's... I'm trying to remember, that was the newer set. The older set, I'm trying to remember what they were. I'd actually probably have to look it up. I remember Delta 4 Charlie Alpha were all the ones that we were dealing with all the time towards the end. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were.
Yes.
It's been a while, but yeah, usually I can find it. I look at the MAC address, I'm like, that looks like a damn microtech. You go to the IP address in the browser, microtech OS, sign in. It's like,
Yeah, so my device, they had, in the hotel room, they had this little ADSL box with a DSL line in and then 5 LANs out and wireless. I'm not really sure what they were being used for, but I plugged into one of them and was able to sniff the traffic. It had 2 VLANs on it, and I was able to grab the MikroTik identification strings from the neighborhood protocol, whatever the hell it's called.
NDP? No, CDP? CDP is Cisco's.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Cisco's compatible with it. They just call it Cisco because they're Cisco and they do that.
Cisco.
Yeah. But yeah, the neighborhood, the neighbor discovery protocol, NDP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, saw the version string. Mike looked up the vulnerabilities. I was like, holy shit.
I wish they didn't advertise the, version
Well,
in the freaking...
you can disable it.
You can disable a lot of things. You can disable the neighbor discovery protocol.
Yes.
But I wish... That is the one thing I wish they didn't advertise as much, because people don't upgrade shit. It's just a fact. It's an unfortunate fact, but it is a fact.
But
And
in
then
that case,
I
if you
could go
don't,
on to...
if you don't upgrade and maintain a network, then you should just disable all of those features. Because you're obviously not
Mhm.
using them, so you don't care.
But, yeah,
Yes.
this particular version happened to be vulnerable to the Winbox vulnerability, to where it was kind of like the current Microsoft Zero logon that's basically just setting the internet on fire right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you go to... You request a certain packet from the Winbox protocol, and then you request a download for a file. That file contains /etc/password. You just look at the plain text password, and you're done.
And
Yeah.
when you're talking about disabling things that you don't really need to use, maybe your customer / client facing side of the network should not be able to access Winbox.
I agree with that 100%.
You have your own.
Or HTTP or HTTPS or Telnet or SSH or pretty much anything other than
Really-
DHCP.
Really, literally anything on the router. Yeah, because pretty much all of the router's functions should be management.
Yeah, depending on how they get them structured, it might make sense to do DNS, or if they're doing hotspotting right there on the device, giving access to the walled garden and that kind of thing. But any administrative functionality should be blocked off.
Should be being the operative word.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I have a feeling at that location, given the price point and everything, it was probably the neighbor's son's nephew of the owner who was into computers and was able to set it up. So I don't have much faith in the quality.
If that would have been the case, I don't think it would have been MikroTik.
You don't think?
It would have probably been like Netgear.
Oh, true.
Yeah. MikroTik's very, very popular in the hospitality space, almost as much as the WISP space. And yeah, it's mainly the hotspot functionality and being able to force people to accept a terms and then quickly authenticate for dirt cheap compared to what you would pay for most things.
Yeah.
But it requires that you actually have some kind of familiarity because MikroTik's not a household name.
Right. Well, if you're talking about dirt cheap anymore, at least, this wasn't the case 5-10 years ago. But Unify, their line of products, can do dirt cheap authentication like that.
Oh, they can do hotspot functionality now?
Yep, absolutely.
Nice.
Whatever box is running the Unify
And with
controller.
an easier UI.
Yeah. Well, mostly.
You can manage it from a mobile device.
You can.
You know how you can manage a MikroTik from a mobile device? SSH client. You ever tried doing that on a phone?
Yep, of course I have.
Yes, I have. It is not fun.
That is a pain in the ass.
Yep. Now, for Unify's, if you want to customize that login page or do any customizing like that, you're still resorting to SFTP to the controller, manually uploading HTML files, and
MikroTik's same way.
doing that route. Okay. So, no more difficult, just no easier either. So, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard MikroTik until tonight. I've heard of Unify. Of course, everyone in the networking game knows who Cisco is. And
So
a lot of us hate them.
So, depending on who your ISP is, you may have MikroTik stuff and what type of internet you have, considering where you're at.
Frontier ADSL.
Okay. So you're Frontier. Never mind. I was going to say if you happen to be that fiber company that's in Hicksville,
The SMTA, yeah.
I can tell you with confidence that there is MikroTiks involved in what you're connecting through,
That's not surprising.
or they're at least involved in your communications at some point.
Yeah, Frontier, they are running through, their hardware vendor is Hamsters International.
Oh, so they're using AdTran.
It
Sorry, I hate AdTrans.
would be an upgrade if they were running AdTrans.
AdTran are actually pretty good equipment, but I've had bad experiences with really, really old AdTrans that people haven't properly maintained.
Yeah.
I'm only on Frontier for until the middle of October, and then I'm going to switch over to SMTA because my contract's up.
Nice. You'll see a nice speed
What
boost with that.
what speeds are they offering for what price?
SMTA or Frontier?
SMTA.
SMTA, I pay, right now I'm paying $79.99 a month for 25 meg down and 1.5 up. Now, if I go to SMTA, that same $79.99 a month will get me 100 meg up with, or 25, or not 100 meg up, 100 meg down with 25 up.
Yep.
So it's worth it, and they're cheaper than Mediacom. And no data cap. That's the main plus. Is I hate data caps.
Did you get booted
If
out?
you use your when you switch to SMTA, if you use your ISP DNS assigned DNS provider, I can tell you what all 3 of the IP addresses are because I still have them memorized. And assuming Charlie's not sharing the chat.
No, I'm not. Not like it would be private information, anyways.
Well, yeah, but
That
there's
is
too many
sad,
octets
sir.
in that last one. I think I need to drink.
Wait, those are all the same network.
They kind of look like it, don't they?
Yeah, the middle one, the third one, scratch that one.
Okay, well the last.
No, I'm using that one.
You're more than welcome to. If you can get something to accept that, abso-freaking-lutely. That's like when, speaking of DNS and just using things that just shouldn't be physically possible or just terrible freaking practice. Who was it? Not Cloudflare. Or was it Cloudflare? I think it was Cloudflare. The 1.1.1.1 DNS?
I think that's OpenDNS.
What? No, because that's Cisco. Or it's Cisco now. I think it was Cloudflare that did the 1.1.1.1 DNS.
DuckDuckGo says Cloudflare. Yes.
Okay. So, funny thing about the 1.1.1.1 DNS, it's something to do with Cisco's, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. And since we're actually live streaming, I'm sure somebody will come across this in 5 years and then correct me. But there was something about like some default configuration or something like hard-coded into Cisco's to where it treated the 1.1.1.1 address as like not in the same sense as the 127 domain, but like it was some like null type of event. Like it's not going to go anywhere or do anything. It was something Cisco related. So when Cloudflare first purchased that and actually made it public, there was a lot of people first that thought it was a hoax. And then there was a lot of potential issues when people were setting this on equipment.
I'll be right back. I've noticed my beer's empty and I need to remedy that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be dropping off here in the next 15 minutes, probably. Just because I have some other things I need to get accomplished tonight.
Yeah, I kind of fucked up like that one time too. When I was running the 192 IP scheme locally, I was lazy, so I just made my local subnet 192.192.192.whatever. Well, that's an actual public address. So ended up going trying to go to some site and it's not working. Like, what the hell's going on? Like everything else is working. Why isn't this working? Yeah. That was entertaining. Like, oh, it does not act like the 10 dot network. Okay, never mind.
Whoops. I've seen plenty of networks. That is one of my big complaints from when I was doing consulting and dealing with other networks that other people had set up. And especially dealing with potentially ones that were configured by people who were not so tech savvy, is for one, there is legitimate use cases and billion-dollar networks that run public IP addresses on their private networks, and I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense to me, and some of them have tried to explain it to me, and I still don't think it makes any sense.
You mean like universities that have a slash
exactly universities
a subnet? And they provide that to all of their internal students. Yeah.
Yes.
I've run into that too.
Universities are notorious for doing the actual ones they own, but I've also seen ones that are just like, I like this number. This is going to be my internal subnet. It's crap.
Yeah.
When you get into a network and you're like, what? Why are all these things public IP addresses? And then you start like finding out that they're public IP addresses. They're just not their public IP addresses. They're just using it privately as an assigned.
Well, that is how the internet's set up. So you can, if you control some segment of the network, you can have whatever IP scheme you want for it. It's just whether or not it's going to conflict with some other people.
Yes. And that's usually how you find out there's a problem, because there's this very strange thing that happens when we try to go to this one IP or this one website.
Yep.
That's usually how you find that out.
Yeah, another similar problem is remote VPNing into the office. And actually, I had this issue with a client not too long ago also. The employees were using VPN. It was working great, but one of the employees went to their parents' house and tried to connect from there. And it just would not connect. Well, it would connect, but she couldn't do anything. Well, the office IP was a 192.168 number and like .0, let's say. And at that given location, that given home, it was also the same internal IP scheme, 192.168.0. And
so,
yeah.
So from a business perspective, never, ever, 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 ever use 192.168 anything for internal stuff. If you want to use it for your public network, that's fine. Your guest network, that's fine. Do not use it for your internal networks because of that reason alone.
Every household uses that same IP address.
Given it's going to be, you can probably just go like 192.168.3 and probably be fine. Or maybe even .2, but 0 and 1 are like 99% of the networks on the world.
Yep. So that was my fun. I tried to walk them through why it was happening and some things we could do. So I just went to the office, switched it to a 10-based network, and it was all good then. Go figure.
Yep. Yeah, IP addressing can be exciting.
Oh, if you don't know what you're doing and you try to set IP addresses to certain clients, you can really screw shit up.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were talking about when you went to go refill your beer.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't have beer. I would say what I'm going to drink on stream, but since they're not going to sponsor it anyway, fuck them.
He's just drinking liquid Coke.
Yeah, we'll go with it's just Coke.
I'm just drinking coffee. Which I feel like I'm always drinking coffee on our webcast. One of these days I need to actually have a beverage.
Yeah, you should probably do that. And I mean, it's a thing. Hell, we probably have enough computers sitting around. We could probably do it and try to build one drunk.
Yeah, that would be entertaining.
I mean, how many screws are we going to drop behind the motherboard and have to pull the motherboard out?
Who said he had to use screws?
Oh, we're going that route.
I mean, zip tie is a perfectly legitimate alternative to
hot
screws.
glue gun.
Or hot glue gun, yeah, that works too.
And this is consider this a beginner tip. If you drop a screw in your case, you find that screw before you power it on. I don't care if you have to pull every piece of hardware out of it. Because I've come across people who did that. If I dropped a screw back behind the motherboard and then wanted me to fix it. And I'm like, okay, this is a dead motherboard. So I pull the motherboard out and go to replace it. And I find the screw with a burn mark on the back of the circuitry on it.
We're just going to start calling
Also,
you...
make sure that you...
Yeah, we're just going to start calling you
Charlie.
Louis Rossman from here on out. I mean, yeah.
I have no clue who that is, or if that's a.
So Louis Rossman is an entrepreneur in New York City, and he's got a podcast. He's got a live stream, but he started his business by saying that everybody had MacBooks that were always failing and needed repairing. So he picked up a soldering station and some basic tools and started fixing people's shit in the park. Then he got enough customers and cash that he was able to actually buy or rent a physical location, and he expanded to a full-fledged business with like 15 employees now. When mail-in shops, but he does hardware repair. So let's say your charging circuit on your MacBook goes out, like they always do. He will desolder the old one, solder a new one on. He'll fix corrosion issues, water damage, little shit like that. It's like what you're doing with the Joy-Cons and with burnt-out main boards.
Right.
Same thing.
I guess it's fitting because it's easy trouble repair, and someone's got to do it. And not everyone has a S&D station sitting around where they can change out a charging chip. Or I've even done a GPU on one, and that's a bit more intensive to do because you got to heat tape everything around it. You got to be very careful because you will overheat the chips around it.
Yeah. Now, for BGAs, did you have to use an oven approach?
No, I had you can actually buy this stuff on iFixit. It's heat resistant tape, and you just cover everything you don't want to heat up with it.
Oh, then you...
And you use your hot air gun to do it.
Okay. I didn't know if the hot air guns would get hot enough to melt the solder on those ball joints.
Yeah, you use a hot air gun and a pair of tweezers, and if you're like I am, you have to have a set of magnifying glasses, the actual headset magnifying glasses that drop down so you can see what the hell you're doing. You can just lift it out, cover some flux on it, heat it back up, and slowly work the old chip back in and let the solder harden, flip the board over, and you want to retouch up those solder joints because you pulled a lot of the solder out of them.
You know, an oven might be an easier approach for you in that case.
It could be, but I don't want to heat everything up.
True. Yeah. That could be bad.
Microwave.
Kind of rolling around. Perfect. Yeah, microwave it. Yep. Uh-huh. Yep. There we go.
You can
work.
almost build
Don't
a
do that.
switch. You could damn near build a switch cheaper just by buying the parts online and putting it together yourself. Almost. It's like $14 more to just build the damn thing yourself than what it is to go to Walmart and buy one.
Plus, how long does it take you to build it?
It's going to take you some time.
So if you're factoring even at minimum wage, if it takes you 10 hours to put it together...
It's definitely going to take you some time because the screen is kind of tricky on them.
So did you win your rounds of imposter, whatever it's called? Ah.
Imposter.
They...
They kept one person literally saw the other one kill, and they didn't vote him. They're like, oh yeah, we'll believe the killer. Even though everybody
Are you catching any of this, Mike? Because I'm not.
Bits and pieces. This is the bits of the bits and bytes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was bad.
So she's playing Among Us.
Okay, I know that game.
Yeah, the game where you're either a crewmate or an imposter running around on a spaceship.
Yeah.
And I guess
My crewmates were dumb.
the crewmates were dumb. They saw one of the imposters kill someone, and they're just like, "This is fine. We're fine with this."
That person killed someone, let's vote them instead. It was
I think I'm more up to date on games than what you two are anymore.
Most likely.
That's because you guys delve deep into the coding and networking side of things, and I just
All I do is
basically
work anymore.
Right. And
Work and
basically,
spend time with my kids.
I do not have a tech job for a living. That is not my career. I'm a welder, and I use tech as my hobby. So
I still
I
have
play
tech as my
games
hobby.
and stuff a lot.
I just don't have the time for games. That's my big thing. That and I don't get into most of the games that are out nowadays.
I'm not gonna lie. My big thing here lately after work is to boot up the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, put on the most ridiculous class I can that everyone's gonna cry about, and just listen to them rage.
So I wasn't really aware that COD had classes.
Yes, they do. You can create a class, like there's a shotgun on there called the 725, or 725 is what everyone calls it. And this shotgun might as well be a sniper rifle. You're going to have to double tap them. It's a double barrel shotgun, but I don't care how far away you are. If I see you, you're dead. And this is one of the guns that everyone cries about it. You fucking pussy, you're using the 725. I can't believe we're using that. Yeah, well, listen to what you're saying. I should really start recording it and making content for it because it's gold.
There we go.
Nolly Warcow.
Yes. I couldn't find
The
that.
things everybody swears about.
I would go back in that game every now and then and look for that character, and I couldn't find it. Like, there must have been a mod or something I'd used back in the day, because couldn't find him.
The UT Game of the Year edition, which is the one I played, had Nolly Workhouse as a stock race that you could play as.
Oh, maybe I just didn't have
Now-
the GOTY. Okay.
Subsequent ones, so like UT 2004, did not have Nolly Workhouse,
Right.
which was a shame. But they had the
know.
Redeemer, so.
Sure, but
And Instagib shock rifles.
those are fun. I do like those maps, especially the two towers. Yeah.
Yep.
Watch all the players run across the bridges. Like, oh, this will be fun. Pop, 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 pop.
True.
Double kill. Multi-kill. Holy shit.
Hey, maybe that's a game that we can live stream sometime. That'll be fun.
UT?
Get a little virtual LAN party going.
I don't even know if we can get it to run on new hardware.
You remember when we had you convinced that we had reinstalled your computer with Windows 3.1?
Yes, I do.
You can make it happen. We have the technology.
Well, 2004 runs just fine. I'm pretty sure GOTY would run just fine for me as well.
GOTY will run in wine.
Yeah.
I know.
I
I've
don't-
done it.
I don't even need wine. They've got a native binary for us.
Oh, for GOTY, they have a native Linux binary now?
I'm pretty sure. Wow.
If so, that's pretty awesome. I feel like I've heard this before, but
I'm actually going to check something as soon as Steam finishes updating. I think I might actually have UTGOTY in my library. Because I vaguely remember playing it a couple years ago with a bunch of guys I used to game with. So it very well could work on any modern hardware.
I mean, it was a 32-bit game, so even Windows 10, I believe, has 32-bit.
worst case
libraries.
scenario, Windows XP's source code was just leaked. You can recompile it, throw it in a VM, and install it there.
I feel this is old news. I remember seeing a Windows XP leak, source code leak, years ago.
Part
So
of it.
is it?
Yeah,
oh,
I definitely have
part
it in
of
my...
okay. It was only a.
I
partial
definitely have it in
example.
my Steam library.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
It last
now
played
a,
April 21st, 2017, so it definitely does work.
Yeah. Now a site that is a number and like an Asian type name.
Like that's 3 letters.
4.
Oh, the other one. Okay. Yeah. It was
I have
either
no clue
4
what
or
we're
8.
talking
Yeah,
about.
those are the 2 options.
that site is where I guess it has been posted, the torrent or whatever.
Well,
I have no idea.
Which should not
what
be
you guys are
surprising.
talking about.
well,
you don't wanna
luckily-
know.
Luckily, we can just see who posted it, right? Because valid user accounts have to make posts. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Just like every account on Facebook is a legitimate person.
Well,
Yeah, I bet.
I know social engineers that have about 100 identities they would like to talk to you about. This person does
Yeah.
not exist.com.
That is a surprisingly nice site. Very high quality images.
there's one that actually generates pretty much like complete artificial fulls for creating outright identities. That saves you a lot of the effort.
Oh,
Oh, Jesus
I'll have to see if I can find it
Christ.
one of these times. I'll have to see if I can find it one of these days. Because it's a very useful site for when you're doing social engineering campaigns.
yeah, because all the other ones I've seen, they just scrape profile pictures from random locations and use just a hodgepodge of actual data, but they're not AI created.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what the site was.
You got me. I have no idea on that stuff.
Have you ever seen This Person Does Not Exist?
Yep.
I was talking to Turk.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, while we were talking about it, I'll bring this up. Charlie mentioned that I have my Raspberry Pis overclocked. You can do it, but you will need active cooling. If you don't overclock them, you're not going to require active cooling, passive cooling, or just it laying in the plastic case like he has there. It'll be fine. But if you overclock them at all, like I have my my CPU overclocked to 2 gigahertz. My GPU is now clocked over to 750 megahertz. And you will need cooling to do this.
Emergency meeting? Nope. Okay.
It was, and we voted the wrong guy.
Emergency meetings are never good.
No, I don't like those.
So in the game Among Us, they can call an emergency crew meeting and debate about who killed who, or who's the imposter, who's trying to sabotage shit. Yeah.
So it's like, who took the cookie from the cookie jar?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm
Only,
glad
I
you
watched
said that
entirely
because I
too many-
was thinking it.
only the cookie jar is the spaceship, and yeah.
That's all I could think about because I see stuff like that all the time with my kids watching those stupid videos on YouTube. It's like half of what my TV is super simple songs and Coco Melon and Super JoJo.
Yeah, thanks, YouTube content creators. We appreciate you as parents. Trust me, we really, really like you.
Well, I mean, it is educational stuff, so I don't really mind. What I do mind is when that's pretty much all that device does is stream stuff like that. There's not really movie trailers or any music videos, anything. It's all like kids' videos, Baby Shark or something of that nature. So, of all the places there's two companies that come to mind that probably have the best algorithms in the world for being able to predict what people want to see or do or like. One of them owns YouTube.
Yeah.
So you should be able to determine, it's probably mostly kids that are watching this if you have pretty much stuff that's like TVY rated.
Right.
Why? Young?
One of the yeah, it's like, I think for like below G, it's like any age basically,
Okay.
infant and up. But you would think the advertisements would be playing off of that algorithm. Well, the other day, we usually skip the advertisements anyway, 5 seconds in, and my son knows how to do that now.
Oh, somebody killed you.
But there was one ad that came up for something called, I think it's called Come Play. I don't know if any of you guys are into horror movies. If so,
No.
COME.
So-
Okay. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Wrong,
too.
Charlie. No. Basically, it's a horror movie about this like monster in this kid's closet that like terrorizes the whole family. It's like
Oh God.
comparative to like The Ring or that kind of stuff. That it starts playing. I'm like, because it shows like this kid's like using the little face like thing that they can use on apps to like do stuff on your face. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about? Like
yeah.
Snapchat does this kind of crap. The filters, and he's just like panning around his room, and he's like mute, so he uses his phone to communicate. And like it goes past his open closet, and it puts a face on something. And that's the point when I'm like, "What the hell is this? Why is this? Why is this? Why is my son
Right.
doing this?"
That's just what you need a little kid to see. Trust me.
Exactly. I'm like, man, to get your algorithms right.
Well, not even that. If the
Nightmares
video,
for days.
You think, yeah. Fortunately, my son doesn't really understand that kind of stuff yet, or that probably would have creeped him the crap out.
even just the subject matter of the video itself, should play into the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, it looks like a cool movie. I mean, from an adult perspective, I like horror movies, so it looks pretty cool to me. But I don't want my freaking 3-year-old watching it.
Yeah, I don't really like horror movies myself. I find them to be really cheesy.
That's half the fun, though.
Now, what was that one horror movie that Dusty recommended that had the bear in the woods in Canada?
It has Leonardo DiCaprio, and I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it does
That's
not.
actually. Oh.
Yeah, so there was some horror movie that I watched not too long ago that had. It was about these two hikers who went hiking off the beaten path in Canada against the recommendation of other rangers or whatever, because there was a bear loose, or a bear that had been spotted in the area. But they ignored it, went off camping. And the entire premise of the movie isn't some supernatural monster or force or anything like that. It's just a bear. Literally a bear is harassing them and following them through the woods and occasionally trying to eat them.
Hey man, bears don't give no fucks.
They do not. As I learned,
You were at
down
the bottom of the food chain with them.
Yes, as I learned down in Tennessee on the trail the other day. That bear gave no fucks. But yeah, in the movie...
By the way, the movie I was thinking of that had Leonardo DiCaprio was called The Revenant.
The Revenant.
Revenant.
The
Revenant.
Revenant.
I'm not familiar with that either.
I watched it.
It might be one of the few movies he doesn't die in.
Yeah.
He didn't die in Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. There was another one where he was... I can't... Catch Me If You Can was another one he didn't die in. And there's one more. He has 3 movies he does not die in. That's it.
What was the other one that he came? Well, I guess Inception's kind of the pull's still out. Did he die or is he still alive?
I categorize that one into he died. Because he dies in every movie.
Was that an actual movie, though? Did that even happen? Did you just imagine all
We
of
are
it?
not doing the Mandela effect. I refuse to go down that road.
All right, gents. I've got some stuff I need to get done, so I'm gonna drop off here. But good chatting, good topic. Microcomputers, whatnot.
System on chip computers. Yeah.
But aren't all systems on chips?
Well,
Even
yes,
in the
but
cloud,
not
just someone
the
else's
entire
chip.
system.
Touche.
Okay, that's
All right,
we'll
gents.
wrap
Have a
it
good night.
tonight. And we might do some UTGOTY streaming